Hi, and welcome to Thursday Comics. I'm Tom Scioli, author of Jack Kirby, The Epic Life of the King of Comics and Fantastic Four Grand Design. This is where my Jack Kirby's Thor collection begins in terms of owning actual first printing issues. All the stories I've had up to this point have been in various reprint forms. But yeah, I own a genuine copy of Journey into Mystery number 101, and this is where Jack Kirby's long run on the character begins, his long uninterrupted run that takes us all the way up to the end of the 60s and the end of his tenure with Marvel, with the exception of the next to last issue, which is drawn by John Buscema, and then Kirby draws his final issue of Thor and then leaves for DC Comics. You know, from this point onward, I can wholeheartedly recommend every one of these comics. So this one is The Mighty Thor thrills you as never before in The Return of Zarko the Tomorrow Man, a mighty Marvel masterwork. We got a great cover. You know, I love any Kirby story that has a robot in it. His robot design is always top notch. He was, way ahead of the competition in that respect. Great action. We got this looks a lot like when Kirby would draw Jackie Gleason. That's this guy looks like that. And we got the twirling hammer, giant robot hands, Zarko the Tomorrow Man. Let's get started. So the credits read, written by Stan Lee, drawn by Jack Kirby, inked by G. Bell, lettered by S. Rosen. Obviously, Jack Kirby is co-writer on this, even if he's not credited as such. Stand back, folks. We don't know what it's all about, but Thor's on a rampage, and it isn't safe to get near him. Odin, I've got to see Odin. Did you see that? His foot chipped a piece out of that lamppost as he passed by. And look how he scrunched the steel litter basket that was in his way. Wow. You can tell he stomped on a garbage can, but yeah, you might not have caught that he knocked a piece out of the lamppost. So the in case you missed that, the dialogue spells it out. And yeah, this is Kirby's definitely asserting his presence here. This story is starting off with a bang, and makes me think of the sort of story he would do with the Fantastic Four, where it would start with the Thing, in some kind of foul mood, or so now it's Thor. Thor is pissed. And his anger and his the warrior madness and stuff like that becomes an ongoing theme as the series develops. Away, all of you, let none intrude upon Thor. Mortals, how like chattering monkeys you are, always gathering about those who want to be alone. Well, Thor has had enough of you. I have lost interest in your petty, puny lives. This could, we talked about that how there was almost like a missing scene in the previous issue. You never got to see. It was almost like Reservoir Dogs or something. That it's like a heist movie where you never see the heist. You never got to see Mr. Hyde disguise himself as Thor and give Thor a bad name. You just heard it referred to in the dialogue. It's almost like we're seeing that here, like we're seeing, except this is the real Thor. This is not an imposter, not an imaginary story. He is really angry, and you wouldn't see anything like this in a Superman comic. In a Superman comic, if Superman was angry and on a rampage, there would be some red kryptonite explanation, or it would be some kind of elaborate hoax or something. It would never be that, Superman is genuinely angry over, some development in his life. That just would not happen. But these Marvel characters are just much more human. And we want to see, genuine human reactions to things. You might even almost mistake this for an issue of the Avengers. The first issue of the Avengers we read here, and you could mistake that for an issue of Thor. And the same is true here. This could either be an issue of Thor or an issue of the Avengers. We have Hank Pym and Janet Van Dyne, Ant-Man and the Wasp, soon to be in their own major motion picture. The ants are sending word to Ant-Man that Thor's acting like an asshole. Quiet, Jan. A message from the ants is just coming in. Sounds urgent. What do they say, Hank? It's interesting, the name Jan. It only occurred to me on this reading because usually, she's referred to as Janet. But seeing her referred to as Jan here made me think of, Stan Lee had a daughter named Jan. It was his second daughter who only lived for a couple of days. Very poignant, a way of, letting that name live on. Will you change to Giant Man or Ant-Man, Hank? Giant Man. I'll need all the strength I can muster. So that sort of tells you where the continuity is at this point. And then we get a really nice drawing of Iron Man, the whole background and everything, the tiger skin carpet. The Avengers are all getting involved, but Thor is deep in his tantrum, and a truck is about to crash into him. Sort of old-fashioned truck, the sort of truck that you would see in a 1940s Kirby comic. And Thor smacks the front off of it. And you get this really nice, nobody draws wreckage like Kirby. Nobody draws trashed cars, trash machinery like Kirby. It's really exquisite. Great body language on Giant Man. Oil dripping, that's a nice touch, or some kind of fluids. And then, the engine block. It's the Avengers themselves. Here, this will more than pay for the damage to your truck. So Iron Man slipping him a couple bucks. I do wonder if that's an addition that's purely made in the dialogue after the story's already been drawn. If when Jack imagined and wrote and composed this scene, if he intended it to be Iron Man slipping a couple bucks, you do in this issue, you do start to see the signs of two very dominant authors, not exactly on the same page in every moment. You see the signs of that. What's wrong, partner? We're all on the same team. We want to help you. Thor, wait. No one can help me. What I have to do must be done alone. Where I have to go, none can accompany me. So leave me. This is no concern of yours. I say go. And he's, summoning some lightning. We're done with that awkward period of Thor. Now that Kirby's back full time, it's a 110% Marvel comic. And quite an excellent example of one, too. And photocopies of the pencils for this issue have survived. So it's really interesting. You can see what it looked like in the pencil phase. We find out the reason for Thor's nasty mood, a superhero tantrum. Without the one I love, life is empty and meaningless. But my father, noble Odin, will not grant me permission to marry Jane Foster. And I dare not defy the wishes of all-powerful Odin, so I must again visit Asgard to plead my case. But as he stands in the shadows, little does Thor suspect that he is closer to Odin than he thinks, and to evil Loki as well. This is just like a really beautiful drawing, the whole setting of it, the waterfront and everything. It's just amazing. It's amazing how easily Kirby can do such virtuoso work. There, noble Odin, I give you a thought projection of Thor as you requested. My favorite son still is troubled. If only I could drive that girl from his heart. You have ordered him to forget her, but still he broods. Is this not rank disobedience? Yes, Loki, it is, and by thunder it shall be punished. From this instant hence, Thor's power is reduced by half. No longer shall he have control of the storm and the elements, and no longer may he come to Asgard, not until he gives up all thoughts of the mortal girl he loves. And now we get a nice, quick summary of the previous issues. Yet Thor dares to still desire such a woman. Never. He shall never wed her whilst Odin lives. Of course not, sire. You are most wise. Now this... this is where we're getting into some, really cool Jack Kirby territory. The reason you buy a Jack Kirby comic. Thor's coming back to Asgard, and Heimdall has orders not to let him in. So now, friend against friend, these beings of great power who, usually are fighting trolls or whatnot. Now they have to fight each other. The unstoppable force meets the immovable object. Just then, unaware of Odin's words, unaware that his power has been halved, Thor approaches Heimdall, guardian of the Rainbow Bridge. Stand aside, loyal Heimdall. I crave audience with my father. You may not pass, Thor. Those are the orders of Odin himself. You lie. None may refuse admittance to the god of thunder. Odin may. His word is law. I'm warning you. I warn you, Heimdall. Let me pass. My hammer knows naught of mercy. I love this stuff. Great armor designs on everybody. We got a sci-fi text story about flying saucers. Draw the first day. No lessons, no talent. Even if you can't draw a straight line, you can draw your family, friends, anything from real life, like an artist, even if you can't draw a straight line. And now Thor's turning himself into the human tornado. Thor, wait, Odin has taken half of your power. Your hammer can no longer triumph. I'll hear no more. Stand aside or I strike. And then here we have one of those, basically something Kirby invented, this sort of, show of extreme, extreme power, a figure wearing exotic armor with deep shadows and action lines radiating, and the figure's only half drawn because you're blinded by the flash bulb of energy. And I mean, come on, this is blowing everything off the stands, back then and today. No, God of Thunder, it is I who shall strike first, with all the cosmic force of the universe in the blade of my sword. You toppled me, but it cannot be. Nothing can stop my enchanted hammer. I warned you, Thor. Odin has reduced your power. You are no longer invincible. But still I shall triumph. See how my hammerhead glows with the untapped power of the nether worlds, a power which will bring me within Asgard's gates. Now are you convinced, mighty Thor? Once that blow would have humbled me. Now it barely splinters my shield. I do wonder if this thing about dividing Thor's power in half, was Kirby's intent when he sort of, wrote and drew this story before Stan added the dialogue. I wonder if that was his intent, or if it's a war among equals, and Thor is super powerful, but Heimdall is no slouch either, and it seems like just an evenly matched battle. Heimdall's shield's getting battered, but again, we don't know for sure how much on the same page they are, and nothing in the art seems to contradict it. I just wonder, because I feel like this would sort of flow and be just as interesting if we didn't have that specific device of, oh, his power's cut in half spelled out. But I think for Stan, that kind of stuff was important, that he wanted to maintain that each of the characters is the best of the best. There's nobody better. So if they fail in some way, it's got to be because of Odin taking away half his power. But again, this is just conjecture on my part. It is true then, Odin has taken half of my power. I am no longer in favor in Asgard. But he cannot deny me. He must not refuse to hear my words. Odin, noble father, do not spurn me. Hear me, Odin. I just think it's more interesting to have Thor legitimately fail and be thwarted. That he wants to come into Asgard. He's being denied entrance, and Heimdall, who he's probably never fought before in his life, realizing that Heimdall has enough power to stop him. Heimdall wasn't put in, not for nothing was Heimdall put in charge of guarding the Rainbow Bridge of Asgard. So and maybe Thor's kind of for the first time in his life, he's locked out of his home and he's upset about it. And so I don't see why you necessarily need we took away half your power. It just it's just not as interesting to me as a story, but still works. It's just a little more interesting from a storytelling perspective that you did everything in your power and you thought you could do anything and you had all the power in the world, and it's not giving you what you need in this moment to sort of go home and rage and rail and tell your dad how you feel. I hear, but I must not answer. Though it breaks my heart, my son must be taught never to defy my will. And so Loki is just loving it. And he realizes he has to strike while the iron is hot. I may never again have such a golden opportunity. At last I have the chance to destroy Thor forever. And this time I must be equal to the task. At last I can make up for all the defeats, all the indignities which Thor has heaped upon me throughout the ages. But Odin must never suspect my motives. I must use another to do the job for me. But who? And from very early on in the series, Loki has been using stooges, to do his will, much like we're seeing Darkseid doing in the New God Sunday School episodes. Nornhag, I command you, show me the well of centuries. As you wish, my lord Loki. I shall search the centuries through these enchanted waters until I find the one I seek. Ah, this is the age I want, Earth's far distant future. And so he's recruiting, one of his old standbys, Zarko the Tomorrow Man, who, he used in a previous issue and who had amnesia and is now a productive member of society, but Loki's using his magic power to jolt his memory back. But I shall give it back. Remember, Zarko, remember, it was Thor who beat you. It was Thor who turned a brilliant scientist into a menial flunky. My memory, it's returning. I am Zarko, once the greatest scientist of the century. Why am I working here as a lowly clerk? Wait, I remember now. It was Thor's doing. There's Dr. Zarkov from Flash Gordon and Jack Kirby being such a self-avowed disciple of Alex Raymond. It doesn't seem to me a coincidence that this sort of super scientist has a similar name. Zarko gets in his super cool future car. Again, Jack Kirby's just, tossing out these amazing designs. Every one of them, could be a toy. Probably many of them are toys by now. His Marvel work has been so thoroughly merchandised at this point. And yeah, we get another flashback to that issue. It's another chance for, Kirby to retell the story, in a condensed form with maybe a little more panache. I think one of the strengths of comics is the ability to communicate a complicated story into very few images. And so now he's going to design a super robot. And I love this stuff. It's, this great Jack Kirby robot design, and it's Jack Kirby drawing a drawing of a Jack Kirby robot. And so just the simplification of it, the geometry of it, you got this great, Jack Kirby hand. It's just layers upon layers of just awesome stuff. And now they show up, in the present day through a time cube, another exquisitely drawn sci-fi vehicle, and out drops it's a man and some sort of gigantic robot. The Thor series is like it's a battle comic. It's all about the big fights and setting them up and coming up with interesting reasons for them and surprising outcomes. And Zarko is not going to put up much of a fight against Thor. He's the brains, but this super cool looking robot, this very formidable looking robot, is the brawn. And it's almost like the day the earth stood still, with Gort and Claytu Barada Nikto. And this robot is, just another variation on Gort, which you'll see throughout Kirby's work. He plays with that whole, Gort archetype. Just like Gort, he's got some kind of disintegration ray that turns the officer's gun into dust, shooting some kind of beam at the earth, and it's making sewer pipes burst and blow water into the air. And then this is kind of the first sort of crystal clear instance in this story where where Jack Kirby and Stan are at odds. Stan either misinterpreted what Jack was drawing or changed the meaning of it for some purpose. But Zarko says to the robot, "Enough, replace the building now. We must be ready, for Thor is certain to hear of our coming. And when he does..." And so Thor's watching it on TV, very dramatic, see him from behind this chair with holding his stick, the iconography. You can almost picture like a similar thing in a Batman movie or something, seeing Bruce Wayne getting the bat signal coming into his living room. And then we go closer and closer on Don Blake, and he takes action, hits his hammer. He's Thor, and he's off to action. I mean, Kirby is just, defining the, defining and refining and pumping up the iconography of this series. And so this is where I think Stan's dialogue, where Zarko is telling the robot to put that, hey, stop, don't take that building out, put that building back. We need to be ready for Thor. I think, he kind of dropped the ball a little bit there, because I think the robot is taking that building here and then sticking it in the middle of traffic. I think that was the intent of this scene, and Stan decided to make it mean something different. And I know, that became more and more of a frustration for Jack as their working relationship went on, and was one of the reasons he left for greener pastures. Not that what Stan did was so awful or anything in that particular instance, but just that, time and again, you're trying to tell a story, you have a specific point of view, a specific intent, specific reasons why you want to do things. And, it can just be frustrating to have somebody else, change those intentions for reasons that seem to you arbitrary. Somebody like Kirby wants, at the very least, he wants control of the story he's telling. There he is. The robot is far larger, far stronger than I would have imagined. He has placed a deserted building across the highway to block traffic, but Thor will crumble the bricks to ashes with one hammer stroke. It's nice to see that Thor's kind of gotten his shit together. He had an outburst, he had a little slip, but now he's back. He's still a good guy. Even if he gets angry from time to time, he still wants to help people. And maybe he smashed somebody's truck in half, but at least he's not smashing a bunch of trucks with a giant building. I really just love this. That's such a great drawing. So much fun, and just, putting all those vehicles in there. Kirby's back with a vengeance here. And then the robot grabs Thor, breaks free, and now he's trying to magnetize the ground and the robot to make him, sort of strong pull to the earth that's going to immobilize him. And then Thor for the attack while the robot's immobilized, but we get the Gort beam, zaps him, the Gort eye beam. Gort, who was originally called Gnut in the science fiction short story that the movie was based on. That's it, hurl him from wall to wall. Good. Show him how powerless he is against you. And now, Thor, do you realize that you have met your superior at last? But I shall not order my robot to attack you anymore. I have no wish to injure you, for I have need of you. If you give your word to return to the 23rd century with me and do my bidding, I shall do no further harm here in this century. But if you refuse, I'll order my robot to go on the rampage, destroying until nothing remains on the surface of your planet. If you can't stop him, you know that nobody can. Only you can prevent Earth from becoming a shambles. What is your answer? I cannot let that engine of destruction run amok on Earth. Since Odin has reduced my strength, I cannot save Earth from that robot. I must give in to Zarko's terms. You win, Zarko. I will go to the 23rd century with you and do your bidding. Ha! I knew it. We leave immediately. Just beautiful. Again, the Kirby Collector has published a lot of the pencils from this issue. And yeah, it looks amazing in pencil form, too. The inking isn't bad, but the pencil form is just sublime. Triumphantly, I shall return to become ruler of my entire world, and my revenge will be doubly sweet because you must help me. This is too much to bear. My son has given up to a mortal. Yes, so he has, sire. All goes perfectly. If Thor helps the evil Tomorrow Man conquer the 23rd century, Odin will never forgive him, and none will know that Loki has arranged it all. And here we go. What a cliffhanger. The cube fades away, and Loki's loving every minute of it. Thor is disgraced. And, what's going to happen in the 23rd century? Another fish out of water story. Don't dare miss the conclusion next issue when Thor makes Zarko emperor of the future. We promise you an ending you will never forget. You can just imagine all the cool stuff that's going to be happening in that next issue. And multi-issue stories, this is a full-on Marvel comic. And so we get this is still Journey into Mystery. So we get a sci-fi story by Stan Lee, Larry Lieber, Matt Fox, and S. Rosen. Script and art by Larry Lieber. It's interesting. It looks a lot like a and reads a lot like a Basil Wolverton story. The alien designs and just sort of the drawing style reminds me a lot of Basil Wolverton. If I ever interview Larry Lieber, I'll ask him about that, about who his influences were, because he is a very interesting artist. The Wolverton influence, I'd love to ask him about it. Wolverton and Everett, those are definite Everett Submariner eyebrows. Of course, Kirby was one of his heroes. And we get the conclusion to that text story. And now, Tales of Asgard, home of the mighty Norse gods, the boyhood of Thor, the invasion of Asgard. Here stands Heimdall, guardian of the rainbow bridge to Asgard. Heimdall, the eternally vigilant. Heimdall, the immovable. And I mean, how beautifully curated is this? We have the main story by Jack Kirby and Stan Lee, where Heimdall gets to shine. We get this really sort of impassioned battle between Thor and Heimdall, where they fight to a standstill. But a standstill is all that Heimdall needs to have victory, because Heimdall just wants to keep you out of Asgard. So if he's able to fight you to a standstill, he's won. A stalemate is a win for Heimdall. We get Heimdall heavily featured in the previous story. Get to see him at his best, and now we get a story that kind of starts off with Heimdall. Get to see him again in both stories. A little bit of continuity. You saw what Heimdall's up to now, and here's what he was up to 100,000 years ago. Heimdall, I have heard that the forces of evil are about to attack Asgard. I came to help you guard the Rainbow Bridge. And then the forces of evil have an asterisk, and we describe specifically what the forces of evil are. Forces of evil, all the sinister, powerful menaces which would destroy noble Asgard. And the credits say, written by Stan Lee, drawn by Jack Kirby, inked by George Bell, lettered by Art Simic. Leave me, young Thor, there is man's work to be done here. Go! But I must do noble deeds that I may earn the mighty Uru hammer of Odin. So, I mean, that story that was begun in the previous Tales of Asgard continues here. We're going to see this ongoing soap opera of Thor trying to earn his hammer. And his shield has sort of his coat of arms. You have a T for Thor. You have this hammer that he's dreaming of. So it's got wings. It's sort of this thing that's sort of just, flying just out of reach. A nice little storytelling touch by Kirby. Also, I mean, I love the little glimpses of Asgard, this sort of snake tower. It's my favorite comics. I love this stuff. I love Jack Kirby comics. I love when he does mythology. This design for Heimdall, it's like you've never really seen anything like it. It's, gods and sci-fi and just really amazing stuff. And Kirby's just doing it on the fly. Psst, Thor, come here. Loki will tell you how to win your father's hammer. Where are you leading me, Loki? Follow me. I have found a hole in Asgard's defenses. You must guard it while I go for help. And again, just these little, one-off backgrounds that are super cool. You can make a play set out of it. See, here it is. If the evil ones find this unguarded opening, they will overrun our land. But if you guard it well, you will certainly come closer to having earned Odin's hammer. Loki, you have done me a service, which I shall not soon forget. Trusting fool, I know you won't soon forget this, for it is I who made that hole, and it is I who told the evil ones it is there, so that they will come and defeat you. And then it will be Loki's turn to try to win the enchanted hammer. In the previous issue, if it were ever in doubt as to whether, Stan and Jack were on the same page about Loki, being sort of, just out and out evil. That's no longer up for debate here. They are both clearly on the same page that Loki is, full on villain, scheming against Thor, scheming against Asgard. And again, maybe they were always on the same page about it, or maybe this sort of next phase began with Thor getting to lift the hammer a little bit higher at the end of the previous story, and Loki being, jealous about that. And then that sort of tipped the scales, and now Loki is actively plotting Thor's defeat so that he can get the hammer. That's a possibility. Maybe they were on the same page, from the get-go. But now the art and the words are very, very clearly telling the same story. And now we have, I mean, this is beautiful. I love all the call outs, but it's almost like a rehearsal for Ragnarok. No, this is like an early doomed attempt at Ragnarok. You have, all the enemies of Asgard gathered together, and the only person who's there to stop them is young Thor, not armed with his hammer, but with a sword. And no sooner has Loki run off than the evil ones attack. Never has there been so awesome an array of immortal foes. And if Thor doesn't successfully hold these guys back, it is Ragnarok. The Norn hag riding Ulfrin the dragon. I must protect Asgard with my life if need be. The merciless rime giants. Last of the ice giants, as seen in, like the first couple Tales of Asgard stories. Skull and Hattie, the wolf gods. Gerador, the troll. Gerador shows up in later Tales of Asgard stories. I must do what I can to gain time till help arrives. These mighty rocks, struck with all the force of the flat of my blade, will cause some of the evil ones to draw back. If only Loki can bring the warriors of Asgard in time. But little does brave Thor realize, as he faces the attack of the Norn hag on her incredible dragon, that Loki has summoned no help. Well done, hag, he is trapped. Nothing that lives can withstand my dragon's enchanted breath. Man, how much fun would it be to have, like a Thor movie where it's like 90% this kind of stuff. Basically like a Lord of the Rings with superheroes. Weakened by the smoky fumes, his strength waning, Thor sinks to his knees as the mighty rime giant weaves a spell about him. I love this. It's bad enough he has to fight these giants and monsters, but, you bring magic, a giant wizard into the mix, add that to your D&D campaign. Yeah, maybe I'll do a D&D campaign where it's like Thor, like the Marvel Thor in a sort of Jack Kirby Asgard setting with the Warriors 3. And at the conclusion of the spell, the son of Odin finds himself inexorably turning into a tree. Where are the warriors? In another few minutes, it will be too late for anything to save me. Living trees being, part of the iconography of what Jack and Stan were doing previous to the Marvel superheroes when they were doing the monster stories. Lots of, living plants there, including the now famous Groot. What a beautiful drawing. And you can see the fear in Thor's eyes. He's turning into a tree. It's body terror. Pretty awesome. But then, as though in answer to Thor's impassioned plea, a mighty war cry is heard, "For Odin and Asgard." How's that for a shot? Wham, knocking that giant right off his feet. It's interesting. You have this Asgardian warrior show up. The cavalry has arrived. But then on the next page, when you see the warriors assembled, you don't see him. It might have been nice for continuity's sake to sort of see that guy, somewhere in this picture. But again, Kirby just wants to draw cool armor. He doesn't feel like drawing the same, cool set of armor twice. So it's like, okay, I'll draw that guy there and these other guys in their cool armor. As the first blow is struck, the spell falls from young Thor, and he becomes the immortal godling once again. So yeah, when that god knocked that rime giant over, his spell gets sort of canceled out, and now Thor's okay. We heard the sounds of battle, my son. It was the clanging of your sword that alerted us. Oh, but father, I have failed. The evil ones would have destroyed me if not for your attack. Speak not so, young Thor. Without your valiant defense, they would have broken through this opening to Asgard. You have given us the time to defend ourselves. You have saved Asgard. Then, realizing that they have lost the advantage of surprise, seeing the fury with which the gods of Asgard battle, the evil ones slowly turn and stumble back to the darkness from whence they have come. Just a beautiful page. This panel here, so amazing. The armies of Asgard, and then the armies of the enemies of Asgard in retreat. Really beautiful there. And I've seen photocopies of the pencils for this page, and they're even more exquisite. While he who will one day be god of thunder lifts the Uru hammer higher than it has ever been lifted before, I have been rewarded with additional strength. Soon, perhaps, soon I shall be able to lift the mighty hammer above my head, and on that glorious day it will be mine to claim. That day will never come, Thor, not so long as Loki can lift a finger to prevent it. So yeah, we're getting, he's lifting that hammer a little bit higher than he did at the end of the previous story. Maybe next issue, he'll lift it all the way and get the hammer. Many are the sagas of Asgard, the mystical land where the Titans dwell. Next issue, we bring you another in this, the most widely acclaimed series in modern comic magazine history. Stan could brag like this because, they had the comics to back it up. I mean, you can call whatever you're making the most widely acclaimed series in modern comic magazine history, but it rings hollow unless you're really delivering. And this comic is delivering. I mean, this is great stuff. Really nice interplay between the main story and the backup story, as previously mentioned with Heimdall. And then also, Thor getting a little more strength and sort of underlining the fact that his strength comes from Odin. He has a certain amount of his own inborn strength, but then his sort of extra, sort of God of Thunder strength is a gift from Odin. We saw Odin take away half of it in the main story, and now we're seeing, a flashback to when, he was getting that power for the first time, bit by bit. And yeah, Loki's in full-on villain mode. If this were, like a TV ongoing series or something, there might be like a little extra beat, at the end where, Thor's kind of like, Odin said he came running because they heard the clanging of my sword, and I thought Loki was going to go get them, and he didn't seem to mention anything about Loki, sounding the alarm. Could, maybe what's going on with Loki is, and starting to suspect that maybe, his brother isn't his best friend. Maybe his brother is his enemy. And then, can't be, dismissing it and. But anyway, great issue. The best issue of the series so far, with the possible exception of issue 1. I mean, the issue that sets it all up, you can't, from this point onward, you're looking at, my favorite Marvel series. This is one of the first comics. The Thor series is one of the first comics that really made me into a diehard Jack Kirby fan. So just having a great time sharing this with you. I'm Tom Scioli, author of Jack Kirby, The Epic Life of the King of Comics and Fantastic Four Grand Design, and I'll see you next Thursday.